Hey guys, I've got a super nice addition to CopyCube at the moment is occlusion culling, which came from the Irrelict system. It took quite a lot of work to actually transition all the data across. It wasn't just copy and paste, it was quite a few adjustments actually. It was a lot harder than I thought, but eventually I got it to work. So now it's working with terrain tiles, inbuilt terrain tiles in CopyCube plus static mesh. It's not currently working correctly for animated models, but it's almost there, but not quite. So I'll see how we go in the future. But anyway, for now, this is how it is. So I'll just run my newly compiled CopyCube with the code with a new. It's got a new API as well to turn it on and off. So I just push a button. So as you can see, it's this is a really large level. I've got a little ability to check how many objects are included in the occlusion culling database. So at the moment, occluded list is 0. So if I select O, press O, and watch the frame rate jumped up to like pretty much almost full frame rate. Full frame rate for me is about 334, but actually, once again, you've got to remember there's this video recording software is running. Now I've made this to update really slow on purpose so you can see what's happening. See, you can see things getting cut out in the distance. I'll put it back to what it's supposed to be later, but you can see that it actually does work. So yep, all those are animated characters here, but this guy here, he's a static mesh. So I can test it on him and also those stairs over there. See that? Popped in and popped out. It's occluded. It'll be pop out. Back into view. Pop in. So it's doing that on slowly because I've done that on purpose so you can see it working. There he is. The guy popped back in as well as the terrain. So static meshes and terrain tiles work fine. Just at the moment, animated characters not quite right. They do get culled, but they also have this flashing issue I have to try and fix up. Now I fixed the 2D overlay issue that was flashing. It's not a problem anymore. Yeah, so yeah, it works pretty good actually. Yeah, so just the animated characters as they are. So I'll just put it back to the settings as normal. So I've just got a button here. I just press a button, turn it on and off, and you can cycle it on and off. So normally, this is my new API set occlusion culling. This is true or false, and so normally this is about 50 milliseconds. This is the delay. In other words, how fast it updates. You can make it shorter than that. It'll just take a little bit more performance. The standard is 100 milliseconds, but I find it, as you can see the clipping of it back in, you don't really want to see that. Ideally, you don't want to see that at all, so try and keep it as smooth as possible. I'll just save that file with the new setting. And I'll just run it through the compiled version. Okay, so standard low frame rate. Now, so like I'll show you here, so looking at the players in that direction, I won't change the direction, I'll just go up and down. So there's about 100 frame rate of about 100. I'll press O, turn it on. You actually won't see you just see the difference in the frame rate. You won't actually see things popping and pop out because at 50 milliseconds you can hardly tell at all. So now we've got a frame rate of about 300, so that's pretty sweet. And that's with the unless you look at these animated characters, yeah, they take a bit of a processing to look at those, but once you pass them, it goes back up. And I'll never have a game where I've got this many animated characters in one spot anyway. So all of these here are animated characters except for this guy here. Yeah, I'd never have that in my game anyway, so I might have like 2 or 3 at most in one spot, I would say. That's about it. So now, in the distance, this is almost full frame rate And if I turn it off, it goes back down to about 180. So I'm getting about, I don't know, about without the screen recording software, it's almost like 100% improvement, almost twice as much. So it works really well. Yeah. So I'm moving around at 300 frames a second, with the inclusion on, and it's hiding a lot of stuff in the background. You just can't tell. You don't see it, and so it's all smooth. You might see an occasional, just for a momentary second, a blip of something coming into view, occasionally, but at 50 milliseconds, it's almost, you can almost not see anything at all, ever. It's pretty good. Yeah, so yes, that works really well actually. That's a huge improvement. I can make even bigger terrains than this if I wanted to, or just keep the size terrain and jam pack it full of lots of static meshes, and so this looking at this angle is the most amount of polygons in the whole game, plus all the animated characters there. That's why it's a bit low. So for example, if I look at it from this direction, I press the space bar, its occlude list is 96, 94. So as I've got it to update as you change, as you look at different things. So when you look at less stuff, it has less things to include. So it has less work to do. So that was an improvement that the original Irrelict code actually wasn't doing. The way it was set up was not doing that. So in other words, yeah, the less stuff you look at, the less work it needs to do. That's how you want it. So, and then you look at the ground. 7. So only 7 tiles, in other words, or 7 objects that it's thinking about occluding to have to work with. Yeah, so less stuff. That works pretty good. So there's about the maximum, about 110 is the maximum. That's why it's about 150 frames per second. If I turn it off, it'd be much lower than that. Turn it off, goes back to about 80, 90 frames per second. Turn it back on, 150. So that's like an 80% improvement. Yeah, and that's with the screen recording software going as well. You get even better percentage improvement than that without the screen recording software going. So it totally works. Yeah, works quite good actually. Took me ages to get the exact code to put into to get the timing and the types of the different meshes. It's just, oh, but that took me so long. It's taken me like 4 days to get this working actually. It's quite a lot of work, I would say. Nico would never have done this. I'll send it to him. He may think about adding it into CopyCube, but he would never put that amount of work into doing it all himself. You know, why would you? It's a lot of work. For him, it's probably a solid day to work, maybe a day and a half. Who knows? But anyway, yeah. So this works. Yeah, because there's about 30 files that have to be updated, and I couldn't just copy and paste overwrite the files, because even if they had the same names, which many of them do, the data from the original Irrelict files, tend to have a lot more information in it and different functionality that CopyCube just doesn't have. And in some cases, CopyCube has some functionality that Irrelict doesn't have either. So there's not just straightforward copy and paste at all. So I had to just work out all the individual bits of code, where it all goes, and do it all manually. So that's why it took so long. Yeah, works pretty good. This has got physics on at the moment, I'm pretty sure. So I can push the guys around a bit. It looks alright. You get over there. Alright. Yeah. Physics is pretty cool. Don't know why I'll just walk through there. I'll work that out. But anyway, physics, the animation and moving around the terrain is not as smooth. It has a few issues, but has some benefits. I've made a lot of improvements to the physics functionality recently as well. Can't push him because he's static. I can push this guy, eh? That's interesting. Yeah, alright. Okay guys, so let me know what you think. and you can pick it up on itch.io for almost, for next to nothing. I mean, there's a lot of work's got into it, so I hope you can appreciate the work that's got into it. And you can put a lot more polygons and static meshes into your game, and it'll cull it quite nicely. Actually, works really well. And I might be able to get the animated characters to work eventually as well. We'll see how we go with that. So I hope you like that. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up and some comments. Thanks. Cheers.